the Potential Zone group, and join us over there. So, hey, everyone, welcome to this conversation. This is a mission critical conversation because we we have had lots of opportunities in our lives, and some of these opportunities have presented lots of challenges for us. And in those challenges, the narratives that we have created about those challenges are the very things that seem to be anchors for us that we're not able to move past. And this is why I'm seeing over and over and over people having this opportunity. And I want to jump on here and really set the record straight on what a crisis can really do for us, right? Because we all have these wonderful things called desires and dreams, and dreams come true only if we have them, right? And a crisis literally means opportunity. What is it? Chaos and opportunity, I believe, is what a crisis stands for in the Asian world. So I would encourage you to take on that mindset that a crisis is literally an opportunity for you to find out what you're truly made of, right? And what's going to determine how fast you accelerate or move through that transition is your acceptance of it. And so I was having this conversation with somebody last night, and they said something that was pretty profound. And it is, when a storm is coming in, the difference between a bison or a buffalo and a cow will literally run away from the storm, and then the storm ends up catching up to the cow and ends up taking it and like raising all kinds of havoc for the cow, right? Where a buffalo will turn and run into the storm, right? Because it understands that once I press into the storm, I'm going to be on the other side of it, rather than me being manipulated by what the storm is going to do to me. I'm the one that is confronting the storm, and I'm heading into it, right? And like I've studied the best of the best out there, and NLP, hypnosis, emotional worker, influence, persuasion, all of this. And anybody that's in personal evolving their personal consciousness understands that we must push into the storm, right? And the storm is going to be the very thing that is going to call forward aspects of ourselves that we hadn't realized that were possible before. As many of you have seen, and if you followed me for any length of time, that you know, last year, 2021, my life got nuked, like in every aspect. The only thing that I came out of 2021 with was my health, right? Like there's going to be about 6 country songs that are going to come out of what happened to me last year, right? And 2022 has been an opportunity for me to really find out some things that have prepared me to come what's going to happen in 23. 23 is going to be a magical year. 22, all of it was magical, right? But see, understands is something, friends. The crisis is forging you, right? And the difference between, I'm going to show you this. This is just happened to be here. The difference between, I don't have the other one in here. The difference between this. So imagine that this is a diamond, okay? This has the same chemical composition as a piece of charcoal. It is coal, it is carbon, right? It has the same chemical composition. The difference between this and coal is the crystal composition. The reason a diamond is harder is because it's the pressure and the intensity that has formed the hardest known substance to man. Now, a lot of people don't know this, so I wanted to share this with you. Let's look at this comparatively, right? Like the Mohs hardness scale is what determines the hardness of a gemstone, okay? A ruby and a sapphire are corundum. They are 9 on the Mohs hardness scale. A diamond is a 10. But if you were to do it consistently, the numbers, a diamond would be 125. That is how much harder it is than a ruby or a sapphire. And this is why a diamond will do to light that no other gemstone is able to do, because of the hardness, because of the crispness of the facets that are on there. It'll actually just break up white light, which is the rainbow, and they call it scintillation. It's the only gemstone that can do it because of the pressure and the intensity that is formed under a diamond. Now, a diamond is not the hardest substance or the toughest known substance to man. Actually, a ruby and a sapphire are actually tougher than a diamond. But hardness is resistance to scratch, toughness is resistance to breaking, right? So the reason I'm sharing all this with you is let me share this story with you. So there's a movie called, I believe it's called 4 Minute Mile. And this washed up drunk coach is watching this protege on the track team. And this kid is just amazingly talented, but he's got an attitude that nobody can stand being around him. right? And just thought of mine, like how many times have we all created things and then wanted to blame somebody else and get stuck to our victim story, but that, I digress. So this washed up coach used to watch this kid in the track team and track practice. Well, one day this kid went sideways and the track coach kicked him off the team. Says, "You're done. I'm out of here. I'm sick and tired of your attitude." Well, this washed up drunk coach went and found out where this kid lived. And he said, "Hey, look, I'll coach you and I'm going to teach you how to run the 4-minute mile." Didn't happen overnight. Took some persuading and some commitment and some things like that. But the kid finally agreed to allow this guy to teach him how to coach or how to run the 4-minute mile. Excuse me. And this coach runs this kid through a regiment that, like, I'm in pain watching what this old boy ran this kid through, man. Like, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable what he made him go through. But then he wanted to show him. It's just kind of like, the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, painting and all that stuff. Like, had him do all these drills that he didn't understand why he was having him do them until he broke up the mile into quadrants. The kid runs the first quadrant, falls flat down on the asphalt, just laying on the ground, screaming in a fetal position, like, the pain, the pain, the pain, I can't take the pain. Right. And that coach walked up to that kid and said something that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. He goes, "It is fear of the pain that is stopping you. It is fear of the pain that is stopping you." And see, we live in a culture where people are not being taught how to step into the storm. They are being taught that everybody else has to change in order to make their life comfortable, right? This is called entitlement, right? And the government would love for everybody to feel entitled, and then the government can take care of everybody, and then the government controls everybody. Of course, that's an extreme, and there's a lot of truth to it, right? So the more you press into the uncomfortableness, right? Like, this is where I say, because I've heard people out there, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is an oxymoron, or get familiar with the unfamiliar, which is another oxymoron. I like to say, get familiar with the uncomfortable, right? The more you can train your nervous system to get in that place where it's like, okay, here we go. And if you're not following me on TikTok, in fact, I've got another TikTok account. It's Jeff, I believe it's Jeff_Faldolan. My coach, Jeff Faldolan. I put some content on there, but it got my lives removed on TikTok because I said something about people being offended and they didn't like it. So I'm not able to do lives on that anymore. But get over to Jeff Faldolan, because I did a video about this very thing, about stepping into the storms. I live in Central California, and I am right at the base of some of the biggest, it's one biggest mountain range in North America is the Pacific Sierra Grove, that or pass that goes all the way from Mexico all the way to Canada, right? And within an hour, I can be pretty close to 8,800 feet. I'm at 300 feet here at my house, and I went up to one of my favorite spots, and I knew it was storming. And I wanted to see if this one spot was still open because they close it for like 4 or 5 months. And I'm driving up there and here that all these cars are pulled over on the side of the road, putting chains on. And I seen the sign says change or all-wheel or four-wheel drive. Of course, I pull up, the cop comes out and he says, you're all-wheel drive, because I have a Quattro, Audi Quattro. And he says, yeah, you're good, go ahead. And there was something that clicked inside of me that was just like, awesome. There's something inside of me that just turns on when it comes time for me to drive into a storm, because I get to utilize the skill that I have been developing over decades of driving, right? Like, I've driven semis, I've driven in some horrendous storms, living in the Midwest, North Dakota. Like, I've driven in storms that were 100 below zero. I've seen some horrendous storms. But there's something inside of me that comes alive when I see a storm and I get to drive into it, because I get to experience something nobody else gets to experience. And I went up there, and then I went down my other little path, and I got into this one spot that I didn't know if I was going to be able to get out of it, because it was snowing a lot. And my point is what is it that determines you getting uncomfortable? Right. And a lot of our uncomfortableness is because of past conditioning. It's past decisions. It's us hanging on to things that didn't turn out the way that we wanted to turn it, or didn't want it to turn out. So we've created this narrative that has created this paradigm that keeps us from not ever wanting to experience that again. And the power for us is to literally just retool or redesign or recreate the narrative that has that paradigm, and it starts loosening up the opportunity, right? For some of us, that pain is excruciating. Like, for some of us, we raised our hand in school and we got called on. And when we got called on and we gave the incorrect answer, we got humiliated. So guess what we've done the rest of our lives? We will do anything we can to not be called on, and we will definitely not volunteer ourselves to put ourselves out there because of the pain we experienced in that humiliation. But that got fused into our psychic, into our nervous system when we were a kid, and now we've spent the rest of our lives doing everything we can to not experience that same thing again. And yet here we are adults, and we are preventing a childhood memory from re-experiencing it in our current life, right? So the crisis is the opportunity for you to literally learn how to change how you see things, right? A book I highly recommend everybody like listen to it many, many, many times is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This guy wrote this book in the middle of the Holocaust. Now, what's interesting about this is that he had already written a manuscript, and because what the Germans did to the Jews is they wiped out, took all the things and stuff like that, he lost the entire manuscript. But he said inside of being in those concentration camps that he was going to do what was necessary so that he could get out and deliver his message to the world. Okay. He turned the pain into purpose. Okay. Now think about this. How many of you have had the equivalent of being in a concentration camp? Not me. Like I've had some pretty challenging experiences, right? And I don't want to make light of people's trauma. I don't, because trauma is trauma and it is personal and we get to work through all that stuff. My point in saying all this is that concentration camps pretty powered up. Now someone can look at it and go, wow, that's pretty amazing. But see, here's the thing is that he had the mental preparation to be able to be in that type of situation and turn purpose. He was able to find purpose within those horrific conditions, right? Like he had already written the book. I believe he was a psychologist. He had already trained his mind how to take extraordinary crisis and find purpose within it, right? And because he had that, he was able to live through an incredible experience and be able to come out of the other side of it and then use his experience to empower other people and write one of the best books ever written out there on knowing how to find excellence in crisis, right? Your ability to find meaning. We are meaning making machines, right? And so the more awareness you have about that, the more you can sustain some of the things that keeps us from going into storms, right? Like what if you go into a storm and go, okay, cool. This is going to bring something out of me that I wasn't even aware that was inside of me, right? Think about this. This is why I say this all the time. Live like your life depends on it, right? Live like your life depends on it. This is not a dress rehearsal. Someday we're all going to be gone, right? And the thing that they have found, I say this stuff, I feel like a broken record, but it is so important. People, when they pass, the thing that they regret, this is the thing they regret when they ask the person that is dying on their bed, what is it that you regret about your life? It's not the things they did. It's not the things they did. So let go of all the garbage that you hang on to that keeps you stuck in the past because you made decisions with the amount of information that you had at that time. Okay. What they regret is the things they didn't do. They didn't love enough. They didn't risk enough. They didn't push into their fear. They didn't let go of things. They played it safe. They didn't find great adventures in life, because what is the quality of our lives? The quality of our lives is literally a reflection of the experiences that we create. What is it that makes these experiences epic? So I want to name of the book again is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So think about this. Let me think about what is one of the most incredible memories that you can bring to mind. Like just bring one of the most incredible memories to mind right now, right? Think about that. Got it? Locked in? Cool. Now, what I want you to think about is one of the most horrifying memories that you've ever had and bring that to mind. Now, some of you, I get it, right? But I'm doing the contrast to this very specifically, right? What is the common denominator between those two experiences? The contrast is something that is absolutely blissful, amazing, joyful, loving, whatever, right? And then you have over here painful, horrific, frightening. These are contrasting experiences. What is the common denominator? It's emotion. It is emotion, right? And it's emotion. If we do not know how to manage our emotion, what we are going to do is navigate our lives to not re-experiencing painful memories that we have from the past. But see, friends, then what's running our lives? What's running our lives is our past, right? And we get the opportunity, to recognize the narrations that we've created about these experiences. So what determines how emotional we get about something? What determines how emotional we get about something? This is super, super, super important, right? Because having these tools that I'm sharing with you, you're going to be able to utilize them when you have crisis knocking on your front door, right? What determines how emotional we get about something is how associated we are to it. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to be associated with it? It means how personal we take it. How personal we take it. Now, when we are children in our imprint years, like I said many times, 75% of what we know is by the age of 5, right? All of that was taken personally, all of it, right? And then if guilt is used as a mechanism to get us to submit or comply or to be obedient, then that just adds a whole other level to things. And this is where guilt and doubt become really good friends, right? This is where we start stepping out. It prevents us from stepping out into the unknown, because us stepping out into the unknown, we're accessing past experiences where we had doubt come up, and then when we had doubt come up, we had all this guilt that we beat ourselves up with, right? So learning how to not take things personally, okay, when things don't turn out the way you want, right? But even the good memories, like when somebody acknowledges you or sees you for who you truly are, obviously you're going to have great emotions about that, and you're going to have oxytocins and endorphins and serotonin and all that stuff dump in our systems. That's what's going to create that memory so that we can access it easily, right? Now you get to focus on that and step into higher resourceful states all the time, right? It's not that we are unresourceful, it's that we get in under resourceful states that make us believe that it's not possible for us, right? Because the more we feed something, the more it's going to grow. The more we starve it, the less it's going to be able to impact our lives, right? So think about, as a child, right? Pretty much most of our lives up until probably our conscious mind don't even really start coming online until we're about 7, 8 years old. 6, 7, 8 years old is when our conscious mind starts coming into place, right? So before that, there's no logic, right? Like we don't understand what is right and wrong. All we know is cause and effect, right? And think about, like I said, 75% of what we know is by the age of 5. That's what we access. Think about how much of that we didn't even understand communication. We didn't understand verbiage, right? We understood energy. We understood feelings, right? And think about being a baby inside your mom's womb, right? And your mom's stressed. Guess what? You're going to feel that, right? Now you're free from all that, but understand, like, you would be like me doing what I do has taught me so much about things that I wasn't even aware of. Like, yeah, I can't even tell you how many conversations I've had with how people were impacted by just the birthing process, right? Like think about, like they're having all kinds of science now that's talking about the trauma that a baby goes through when it's being born. Like think about if a baby gets stuck in the birth canal, right? Like all of a sudden they put these gadgets up inside and grab a hold of it, pull on it, stuff like that. This baby's in a nice, warm, safe, peaceful, calm place. And then all of a sudden something's grabbing hold of it and yanking on it and pulling on it. The baby has no idea what is going on. No idea what's going on, right? So that would be an incredible shock to the nervous system, right? And this is the stuff that ends up creating the PTSD, the anxiety, all these things that end up playing that become automatic programs later on in our lives, right? So looking at what is it that keeps you, and this is a great question. What is it that keeps you from moving into the storm? Right? And see, we cannot change something that we're not aware of. But see, our pride and our ego likes to pop up and say, well, I got it. I got this thing down called life. I don't need anybody. I'll figure this out. And we just push through it. But then we don't understand why it keeps coming back, because we're not understanding how it serves us. Right? And our subconscious mind wants to serve us, right? And it's going to serve us the way it believes we want to be served, right? Which is why it's really, really important for us to get super clear on what it is that we want to have happen in our life. So, as I've gone on this journey, learning to appreciate, it's just like in my book, I talk about Laura Schultz, 63-year-old woman's able to lift a Buick car off of her grandson. Why? Because she valued her grandson's life more than she valued hanging on to the belief that she couldn't lift that car off of him, right? She went beyond logic, right? And her body showed up that way. What if you tapped into that ability, right, to be able to move into the storm? Because what the outcome is going to be a reflection of what you are able to overcome, always, right? And there are going to be times in your life where you're going to face something. See, you're not in a really evolving lesson if you believe you're going to make it through it, right? Like, start like how many lessons have you made it through that while you're in the middle of the lesson, you're like, I can't make it through this. Like, what am I going to do? There's no way I'm going to get through this. How many of us have had lessons like that? Right. But yet, when we make it through, now guess what we have? We have the evidence to prove to ourselves that we're able to overcome incredible obstacles that we didn't think that we were able to do. Now, what if your higher self said, oh, okay, cool. Let's wipe out this dude's life last year. Let's wipe out his life so that he gets to go deep within himself. And in that deep place within himself, he's going to be able to trust his ability to create. And then I came out at the beginning of this year and did a challenge, ended up doing 95K in 5 days. Like, boom, just blew up this year, right? So, but what if, think about this. What if failure wasn't an option? What if failure wasn't an option? And the only reason failure is an option is because you decide that it is, right? But what if you looked at it as feedback, which is what failure really is? Failure has no meaning but the meaning you attach to it. But if we look at failure is just feedback, right? And so you being able to recognize, but see, here's the other part of it. This is super important to talk about this too, is levels of understanding, right? Like this is what I get into in my course, The Potential Code, right? Oh, by the way, I get so excited, I forget to put this up there, right? I got a challenge coming up in the end of January that you will definitely want to be a part of. Sign up for it. I've got a waiting list now. The first ones that take advantage of it is going to get lots and lots of bonuses. The ROI Accelerator Challenge. But understanding, having the awareness of levels of understanding is super hugely important, because the more understanding we have, and the levels aren't linear, they're more spectral, right? They're more holistically rather than linear, right? The more flexibility you have within yourself, the more opportunity you're going to create in your life, right? But see, so many of us has been indoctrinated. You have to follow the system. You have to make sure you do it the way we told you to do it. You have to sit down, be quiet, don't cheat, don't ask other people for help, stick to yourself, right? Memorize stuff rather than understanding actually what is going on, right? Like, this is how we have been educated. The word educate literally means, it's called educo. It's a Latin word, means educo, that literally means to draw from within. We weren't taught that. We weren't taught how to draw from within. We were taught how to memorize and regurgitate. That's it, right? And it's getting even worse because of all the electronics and all the AI that children get to use today. They don't have to think anymore, right? They're actually, I heard somebody talk about, they're actually taking writing out of school, so you don't have to write cursive anymore. Why? Well, it doesn't make any points because we got AI, that we're so dependent on AI that we don't have to think about that stuff anymore. Right? But the more you can ask questions, the more you can inquire, the more you surround yourself with people that have like-minded intention, the more you can collaborate with other people. Where two or more gathered, there am I. Like, I love that saying. But see, understand that when you have red and you have blue, the two of you together create purple, right? Every single person I meet brings out something new in me, right? And vice versa, right? So you not capitalizing, but you embracing that more and more, because that is so important for you to understand. There's no other person that has been, is, or ever going to be like you, ever, right? So nobody's read all the books, nobody's gone all the classes, nobody's had the experiences, nobody's had the memories, the decisions, all those things that you have had in your life, right? So the more you learn to embrace that, the more you're going to understand the value that you really get to contribute to this world. And in the ROI Accelerator Challenge, the ROI stands for remember. Remembering your superhuman ability to write your own programs within yourself, right? Like, I show you how to do it, right? Like, literally step by step, show you how to rewrite your past. It is powerful, right? Then the O is for optimizing every single area of your life so that you can move efficiently and effective and not be bound by the limitations that you have within your life. And the I is being able to influence others by first influencing yourself to be into a very resourceful state at all times, and being able to go into and inspire people to move in the direction that you want to move them into, right? Like what's happening in there, it's amazing what's happening in that course. Like the people that have been going through it, it's amazing. It's amazing what has come out of that. But again, this is all the results. My mission, this in 2020, if this didn't get your attention, like we have been indoctrinated with propaganda, right? If they can control your perception, they can control how people behave, right? And then understand that if they can make you angry and they can make you afraid, they can control you because you're not up in courage. And it takes you getting up in courage for you to understand where your superhuman ability comes from. And friends, understand 80% of humanity is not able to distinguish what is true. Now, we're not talking truth. We're talking being able to distinguish what is true, right? And they don't want you to know what that is. So this is where I was going to do a course. Here is actually all the mock-up stuff for it. The Ultimate Influencer, got all the books and the the 3-ring binder and all that stuff. That was what I was originally going to create. And then I saw what happened with how people were being led over a cliff, how I got turned into a demon because I wouldn't take the jab, right? Like how people that had taken responsibility for their own health were turned into the demon, right? Like they are the super spreaders. They are the enemy. They are the ones that are supposed to be. And I'm the one that's taken responsibility for my life. When I started seeing that and started seeing how criminals were being turned into heroes, right? Like all of the stuff that I started to see, and we're not in a recession just because somebody says it is. We're not in a recession. Like seeing how people were being led to literally hate family members because of what was being put out there, I went, it's time. It's time to start talking about influence, right? So that's why I came out with it when I came out with it. And it's been amazing. Lots of amazing things happen. Lots of people are learning how to leverage their gifts, learning how to create their own programs, learning how to turn in their greatest ROI, their greatest investment, which is yourself, right? And learning how to create courses and being able to communicate in a way that captivates people's attention and being able to make them offer things in a way that they never thought possible. So it's an amazing, amazing course. And I absolutely love what's going on over there. So get on the waiting list. I believe I don't remember. It's going to be like the third weekend, I believe, in January, where I'll reopen it up again. But get on the waiting list. You don't want to miss it. And I appreciate everybody being here. So learn to step into crisis, right? Like really learning how to move in to the storm, because in that storm, of course, obviously you want to use responsibility, right? But what is responsibility, right? It's my ability to respond. And there's been things that I have done in my life that people would think I've lost my mind. And I have, right? Like there's been lots of crazy things that I've done in my life. And there's lots of things that I wouldn't do again, right? But I understand where the edge is. And one of the things that I love watching is Formula One. Yes, it will be up again, Karen. It will be in the group wherever you're seeing this. These will be there later. So yeah, and everybody, if you're watching this live or replay, please type that in there too. That would be greatly appreciated. But Formula One, like think about a Formula One race car. It's worth about $100 million, right? Like there's a lot of money put into that car, and all of it is for 4 strips that are about that big, where the tires meet the asphalt. $100 million for that much contact on the earth, right? These cars at 60 miles an hour, you can flip them upside down and they will stick to the ceiling. That's how much downforce they have. These guys pull over 5 Gs going into corners, right? But one bolt can take that car out. Like I've seen lots of races lost because the bolt is not able to come off the front tire when they change it, right? So it's understanding there's lots of components. Start looking at evolution and evolving yourself as spectral rather than linear. Right. And in the ROI Accelerator Challenge, I show you all the different ways to look at the different domains in your life and how to get optimized in them and get really, really clear on what it is that you want to create and understanding the power of intention. Power of intention, my friend, is powerful on so many levels. So I want to do everything I can to support everybody. If anybody's got any questions, please type them in the comments below. I will circle back and be happy to answer them. And be sure to check in Thursday when we have another live here. And if you're not following me on TikTok, get over on TikTok. I put a lot of my great content on TikTok. And then also be a part of the potentialzonegroup.com. You'll be glad you did. And until next time, my friends, be blessed. And as always, live like your life depends on it, because it does. You deserve the best. You deserve to make 2023 the best year of your life. In the ROI Accelerator Challenge, I actually tell you why goals don't work. A lot of people set up goals so that they can confirm their biases, that it's not possible for them to set it up, right? So TikTok is, the address is Jeff_Faldolan. Just go type in my name. I think there is or Coach Jeff Faldolan, that you'll see I share both on both back and forth. So appreciate everybody being here. Again, have a great night. Hope you had an amazing Merry Christmas, and I will see you Thursday night. Be blessed, everybody. Much love.